the first thing that I prioritize in every single day was myself.
Yourself, yeah.
And most people leave themselves to the very last moment of their day. And I love that you do therapy. I think everyone should go to therapy. It is the best investment. So I think like therapy is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. I'm a firm believer in like, if you want to be mediocre, live a mediocre life. If you want to be extraordinary, make an effort to have an extraordinary life.
Hello, Danny. Welcome to Breaking Glass. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you.
So I'm especially excited for our pod because you're super accomplished at such a young age. And I think that more people need to hear your story. So I'm excited to like blast it all over the internet. So not too long ago, you went from being a student to a CEO of a luxury interior design firm alongside two co-founders. And you have your face all over Miami. And it's so nice to see you taking over. So it's quite a moment that you're having.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That being said, your business has been growing a lot, I can imagine, and we get to record today's episode in your beautiful office space. I mean, you're an interior designer, so I mean, it's going to be stunning. So, you know, I'm like obsessed with everything that you guys do, that Girls Who Do Interior does, honestly, and one day you guys will build my dream home.
Yes.
I'm going to speak it into existence right now.
Yes,
right? So.
we are. I'm so ready. I already know your style, so I got you.
My style is your style. Let's be real. It's your style, girl.
DWDI style.
Yes, exactly. Interior design is more than a career or business for you. You can tell it's really a passion point for you. So how did you discover that this was your passion, and why did you think that the passion was specifically interior design and going this entrepreneurial route?
Okay, that's a great question. I feel like a lot of interior designers generally have the same answer when we think about the first moment that we decided we want to be interior designers. And probably a lot of other people relate to this because so many people that have reached out to me, or just anyone I tell that I'm an interior designer in general, they're like, well, I've always wanted to do that. And I think that the common denominator we all have is that we spent our entire childhood rearranging our bedrooms.
Yes.
So that's the first initial thing that I noticed that I love. And then once I started getting into school, I started getting really into art and anything that was creative, DIY, like crafting. I was a Girl Scout, so I loved crafting. And I always knew I wanted to be in something creative. I also kind of had doubts about that because, you know, as you start getting older, you're like, how am I going to make money as like a creative, you know?
Yeah. And what is a secure income?
Yeah.
You have to think about that.
Exactly. And especially when we were in high school, like social media was nothing like it is right now. So it wasn't like you can just like expose yourself on social media. So I initially started looking into interior design as a career. And then I started telling my parents about it and they were like, no, don't do that. Because my dad was an architect and he had a really hard time getting a job out of college. And they obviously, as Cuban parents, they wanted the best for me. So they were like, you should look into engineering or at least try to do architecture because, you know, if you look at how much an architect makes, it's technically more money.
Salary, yeah.
The annual salary is more money. But I never, ever had the idea of a big interior design firm. When I went to school and I learned that was kind of the route that they pushed you into, I didn't understand. I was like, what do you mean?
Interesting. In school, they were like, next step firm.
Right. So, and then there's like, obviously there's typology, but I couldn't picture myself doing that. Of course, like every other student, I was like, I gotta go to school, I gotta get my degree, but I'm gonna do it in what I love. That's for sure. I always knew that I was gonna do what I loved. I had interviewed a couple different like professionals before I started college to see what their life was like. For example, I interviewed an industrial engineer and I was like, yeah, no.
Okay, that's really smart that you did that.
Yeah.
Like to be able to reach out and like see how someone's life is because that could potentially be yours.
Exactly. Like I always had an understanding like, okay, I know I need to go to school and get it done and I'm pretty good at math, so I guess I can do engineering.
Yeah.
But what is their life like? Because that's really what I cared about. And then I started, you know, school and then I realized that I didn't want to do this typical route that they guide you towards, which is working for a firm. And then it was like also scary, like how long is it going to take for me to actually become a real designer?
Yeah.
How many years am I going to be sitting behind a computer doing drawings?
And being like an admin and like not really like making your magic shine. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I've always been a little bold in that sense. And I knew that I was going to go the entrepreneurial route, but I thought if there was a possibility that I might do an internship just, you know, to have some security because that's what we always gravitate towards.
Especially as immigrants.
Yeah.
Like coming from a family of immigrants.
Exactly. But then I met the girls and we were like sitting one night working like until like 5 a.m, like we always do. Well, did in school. Rest in peace to those days.
Fun times, I'm sure.
And we were like, what do you want to do like after this? And all of us said, I want to own my own design firm. And we all had kind of had the same idea. We're like, one day we're going to have our own design firm. You know, if we have to work for like to get a little bit of experience, then, you know, so be it. And then it wasn't until one day we were like, what if we just make our own experience? Why do we have to go work as an intern when we're not really going to be learning much that we don't already know or that we can't teach ourselves?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it came about.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's beautiful. I love those 5 a.m. thoughts too. And I mean, quite a business that you guys have all built together, and it's beautiful you guys get to do it together. So it seems like this is something in the back of your mind that you always wanted to pursue, I'd imagine, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And when you first launched a brand, what was the reaction to everyone around you? Like, what did everyone say? I feel like your parents seemed like they were timid, a little bit nervous for you, but like, what did your friends think? Like, what was the vibe?
So a lot of people at first didn't really understand because at first we just launched a brand. We weren't launching a business with services.
Okay.
What that year that we launched our business, we had just came out of a personal branding class in design school, which is pretty much what you end up doing for the rest of, I mean, you brand everything in design.
You're always branding.
Yeah.
Yourself, everything. Yeah.
Exactly. So we were like, with all this experience that we're getting in personal branding, let's start a brand and let's start getting our name out there. So initially we were looking for like YouTubers or people on social media, which a lot of them exist now, so that's really amazing. But when we first started GWDI, there was really not that much besides like Karen Bond, Three Birds. All the designers were very like low-key and like exclusive, if you will.
Yeah.
And all this information of what it takes to become a designer, what's the process like, what's school like, what do you have to go through, none of that was available online. So we were like, let's start a brand and let's show this to the world, just to inspire some people to do the same, because what we're going through right now is a lot of work. Aileen had the idea one day. She was like, she just showed up and she's like, we're going to start filming ourselves every single day. And I was like, oh, great.
That's nerve-wracking.
Because I'm not like very comfortable on camera, but I was like, all right, let's do it. I'm down. So all of us decided that we were going to get cameras. We were going to film everything. We were going to film the whole school process. Then we started a community within FIU with students because we wanted to like showcase and we just wanted to like develop a community. So a lot of our peers were like kind of confused because they were like, is this a business? Is it a brand? But, you know, for the most part,
I think you guys were still trying to figure it out in a way.
Yeah. So for the most part, everyone was pretty supportive in the beginning. I would say it was a little confusing for people to understand until we got our first client. And then people were like, oh, damn. So they're actually taking it serious. And then people were like, but you guys don't even know what you're doing. We're going to figure it out. It's fine. Yeah. And we started small. We started with little bathrooms here and there, furnishing. And then little by little, once people started seeing us grow, that's when people really started to take us serious. Thank God.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And I think that's a very similar sentiment that a lot of other people who have started their businesses, that, you know, everyone's always confused, you know, like, and a bit surprised. They're like, okay, like, what is happening here, right? But I think that the fact that someone underestimates you and you're like, no, I'm going to get it, okay? Yeah. I'm doing it. And then you guys, I mean, just took off from there. I mean, I think that's beautiful and that's like inspiring in many ways.
Yeah. And it was also great that all of this, when we actually launched our business, like a week later was when COVID happened. So we spent that whole year just like really focusing on setting up the business, because we had spent time like working on the brand and what we wanted it to be and like, you know, the business plan, I guess the branding package. Yeah. Then we took that next year to really work on the business plan. Like, how is this going to work?
Like the direction of where you guys want to go.
Yeah. Contracts, opening up, see who's going to be in charge of what, all of those things like take a lot of time to figure out. So we were able to do that while we were still in school and just work on like few projects here and there.
Yeah. And that's so smart to like figure that out together, like while you guys are still kind of evolving the brand, you know, when you guys launch, it's so much more like, it has a solid foundation. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people do that, you know, like they don't really plan as much.
And also, like, you know how they say like it takes, like when you start a business, it takes years. You need to really be committed. It takes years because you're wearing a lot of different hats. You have accounting, you have the legal stuff, you have the business stuff. Now we have design, we have procurement, we have the construction stuff, we have contracts. We had to teach ourselves how to do everything. Yeah, in the beginning we didn't have a bunch of clients. We did have school, so we would work outside of, we would really schedule ourselves you saw our calendar from
I can't even imagine. That's crazy.
If you saw our calendar. I mean, now our business is picking up, so our calendar kind of looks similar. Sadly. I mean, no, not sadly, amazingly. It looks kind of like how it used to, but there was so much scheduling that we had to do to figure those things out and like watch YouTube videos, hear every other person's perspective. It's a lot of time. So the reason why they say that to be patient with your business is because it does take it takes a long time to get it fully started.
Yeah. And I think the more that you work on something, the more it starts to take form.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, I think you always have like this general idea and then you start getting to the specifics as you work on it. And I think a lot of people just assume that business is like you slap a logo on and you go, but it's so much more deeper than that.
Yeah. And I also think that a lot of times in business, like people, which I'm not saying I have anything against, people like to outsource a lot of the work. Which is great because sometimes you do need to outsource some work. But in many cases, I feel like, especially when it's something that is so hands-on, like something that you really need to understand the process of, it's really important that you take the time to understand those things because you're starting your business from the ground up. So it's important for you to understand each aspect of it. And, you know, I think it's a big determining factor when it comes to the success of the business is that you understand each part of it and that you're not just like putting things out there just to put them out there. And you're not getting things done just to get them done. Like you really understand your process, and that's what's really helped us.
Yeah, I can agree with that because I think like really like those details, those minor details can set you apart from the rest. You know, like at least for me, like with the podcast and the community space that I'm building, like I can go ahead and outsource like the editing of the video and the cut downs and all these things, but I'm like, it's not gonna be my way, and like I need it to be my way.
Exactly.
You know? So it's just like little things like that is really unique to each person and the identity of a brand, and it's important to integrate, especially in the beginning. So I really, really agree with that.
Yeah. For sure.
So Girls Who Do Interiors is such a cute name. She came up with it.
Yes.
So how did she get inspired by the name? And did you kind of face any barriers with the name? Because it's a little specific in terms of your demographic, right? Because it's like, are the men welcomed in this space?
So the famous question.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it.
The answer is no. It's not only for girls. The name actually comes from the fact that Jen, Ye, and I would always work together in school.
Yeah.
So in school, everyone called us the girls, and now it's almost coming out of my mouth naturally, the Girls Who Do Interiors. Everyone always called us the girls. Like that was just our nickname. And it's crazy because now when we're in a coffee shop or anywhere, even if somebody doesn't know us, they call us the girls. It's just the name that intuitively comes out when people see us. So that's how the Girls Who Do Interiors came about. Yaelin thought about it one day. I think she had like a dream or she was in the shower when we were starting to have this conversation, and she was like, what if we name it the Girls Who Do Interiors since everyone calls us the girls? And we were like, oh, it's perfect. So yes, we have faced some people coming up to us and saying comments like, when are you guys going to transition from the girls to the women? Or comments like, do you guys only work with girls or whatnot? And no, none of that is true. I mean, we are always going to be the girls. We like to say that we're like the golden girls.
Oh, I love it.
The name is never going to change. We're always going to be the Girls Who Do Interiors. It's actually trademarked.
Nice.
So
smart. I love it.
Yeah. So that's just who we are, the founders of the company. By no means would we never hire male. We work with men all day long.
Especially in the construction space. I imagine. Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with that. That's just where the name came from.
And I feel like everyone's always going to have an opinion on something, especially the name, right? Yeah. So like, I'm really happy that you guys stayed firm on it because I think that sometimes a name that is so different and seems isolating for other people can make you stand out. Like, I was actually recently listening to a podcast with Drunk Elephant, and she talked about like her name was like always being dragged by the investors and this, that, and the third. And like everyone's like, you need to change it before you do this huge launch. And now it's like Drunk Elephant. Like, what other name could it be? You know? So it's just like, it's
like one of the top brands.
Yeah. And it's important to know, like, to stick with your intuition. You know, like if your intuition is telling you like, this is the name.
Just a disclaimer, like not everybody says those things. Like those are just like the only times that people have said that. But for the most part, when people like, we go to trade shows, anyone really sees our name, they're like, what a clever name. Like everyone loves our name.
I love it.
We love our name. So, I mean, I think it does catch you a little bit off guard because you don't expect it. Like, it's the name of your business, Girls Who Do Interiors.
Yeah, and I like it because it's very easy to remember. Yeah, it's just like, it's the Girls Who Do Interiors. That's, what was that firm that we were talking to? The Girls Who Do Interiors. Like, it's so easy roll off the tongue. So I think it's genius.
Yeah.
But
when people refer to us, it's the girls.
Yeah. I love that full circle moment. It's so cute.
It's great.
So last year you had a major movement in your business. And you're all over Miami, as I alluded earlier, and I'm going to keep gassing you up because it's like, it's my favorite thing to do. Seriously, I see you all over and I'm just like, guys, I know her. I went to high school with her and now I get to interview you.
When I see it, I'm like, does that mean?
No, I'm sure it feels like a dream. But after that launch and all of that, have you been able to see like major jumps or progression in your business from that? Because I'd imagine that was a major move.
Yeah. As soon as after all that came out, we had got in this office, first of all, and obviously our business grew a ton and we feel super blessed, not just because of how much of our business was growing, but really because of, you know, our story that's being told to the world about, you know, how we started, because it really meant a lot to us to go against, you know, the norm and just inspire other people to do the same. So it's really powerful. That has allowed us to inspire people to just go for it and start their business, no matter if they're in school or no matter if they're waiting around for the day to come. It's never too late.
And when you say step out of the norm, like what would that mean for you?
So the norm for me would have been, which there is nothing wrong with the norm, but the norm for me would have been to graduate and get an internship and, you know, work for a company and grow within a company. It's not as normal for somebody to take such a risk to go into such a risky kind of business with construction and with things that usually will take years of experience to get you. But at the same time, how do you even get that experience? You know what I mean? So it really, like, at the end of the day, we were at FIU Alumni Week the other day, just talking to students that were like in the same position when I transferred to FIU. And I was like, you can just wait until you get an internship. But if you want to start doing something now, why don't you just ask somebody that has some more experience, go see what they do. The girls and I, we would ask people that were in the construction industry to go to a construction site, and we would ask them questions like, how did you build that? What is that? What were the steps that took? Like, what had to happen before? We wanted to learn everything because we knew that was our only hope for experience, right? It's just to see it in the real world, not sitting behind a computer. So I think it's just really like courage that gets you to that point, like being able to ask people for help, being able to ask people to mentor you, being able to put yourself out there, go to events that you think, especially like in Miami, like things can be so like
posh, like
posh, like you can't go with unless you have an invite.
I know.
So what do I gotta do to get an invite?
Send me the invite details, please.
Exactly. So that's what we did. And oh my gosh, Ye is so good at that. She's like, all right, I'm gonna get us an invite. We'll figure it out. I'm like, we gotta go to these things, you know, like from the beginning we started, we're like, we gotta go to these things. We gotta meet people. We gotta get our names out there. We gotta make relationships with vendors. Even if you have to pretend like that you have clients, whatever.
Yeah, that's the fake it till you make it, essentially.
Like, you know, with some vendors, we would be like, oh my gosh, like we weren't really pretending, but, you know, like sometimes we would ask for like more samples and stuff. Yeah. Because we wanted to start building our library and we wanted to learn about these materials and stuff. So it's just really courage, I would say. I don't even remember what the question was. I think I went off track there.
No, I think it was a beautiful way to get off track, because I think that a lot of people are hesitant to put themselves out there. And it's really interesting that you guys just went from, you know, we're just going to figure it out, you know, like, and a lot of people are scared to do that. And I feel like if you go into this corporate America world, right, and I'm very much in that world, and I'm not throwing shade on it because it's giving me amazing success and it's giving me a foundation for my life and I love it. But I think sometimes you kind of get stuck sometimes if you allow yourself to, right? And like you were saying, you know, you could have been stuck behind a computer and you wouldn't have known all the details that you know today because you would have been behind a computer, you know, and it can kind of actually hold you back. So like the perspective is really important there.
Yeah. So I'm always so scared to say that because for some people, the corporate world is like amazing and it works and there's so many benefits and there's so many, like, there's so much room for growth. Yes, all of that is true. Yeah. It's just me personally. Daniela could not live the rest of her life behind a computer. I would be the most annoying person in the entire office. I would get fired. I need to get up. I sit down at the computer and like the days that we're like all day on the computer, I think I get up like 500 times. And like I'm just a very real world, like I need to be in the scene kind of person. So that's why this job is so amazing for me because I'm working, I'm creating things, and then I'm going on site and I'm seeing it being built. So it's just like so stimulating. I can only speak on behalf of my point of view as a designer, but I think like there's nothing wrong with either one. It just depends
what your journey
journey is and where your career is too, because every career is completely different. So
yeah, and I think the trajectory of everyone's path is so different and so unique, you know? So it's just like, it's again to say like, it's not throwing shade on any specific profession or avenue or route, but I think it is daring what you did, you know?
Yeah.
And it was obviously in all the best ways. So that's amazing. So externally, you know, interior design sounds so much fun, right? I want to be that. I wish I could be that. And there's fun moments and all of that jazz, right? But I'm sure there's also that side of frustration, roadblocks, you know? So how do you navigate like these chaotic, stressful moments and when you feel like there's really, truly not enough hours in the day?
That happens so often, especially in like design. It seems so fun and like people don't, I think the girls and I need to start a podcast because we need to start speaking out of how many things go into design, because what you see on design on Instagram and all these like, you know, design influencers is mostly the finished product, and that is
or the befores and afters.
Yes.
Like 5-second befores and afters.
That's the whole purpose of our business, which we need to tap back into a little this year, and that is 100% going to happen. There are so many stressful moments in interior design because you are handling people's money, and it's a lot of money, and it's their homes, and things go wrong all the time, especially with construction here in Miami.
Yeah, and like delays,
everything. There's so many different categories where things can go wrong. So it is hard to maneuver through all of that. But I think the girls and I have been pretty good with that up until this point. And then sometimes when we feel like we're being too robotic, we're just like constantly trying to find solutions to problems on the spot. Like it just drains us. So that's part of why we got, you know, membership to go relax on the weekends. And we try to like really balance things out where, you know, if there's something is really stressful, like one or two of us will be dealing with a really stressful task, and then the other person will be dealing with everything else that's going on. And we do like prioritize our time off, and we all like try to motivate each other a lot with making sure we're going to the gym, making sure we're eating healthy. This year, one of our biggest goals, we started this business so that we can be happy in our careers and so that we can do the things that we want to do when we say we want to do them.
Yeah.
So as a business owner, you've put so much pressure on yourself to just work all the time, especially because if you don't do it, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
You know? So we almost all treat ourselves at certain times in stressful moments an employee that's punished. And that's not why we started this. We started this because we wanted to have the freedom to be a designer or to go have lunch with our client or to go have lunch with each other. Like go get inspired, go to a new hotel or a new restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of our goals this year, is to make sure that we're making time to do all those things. Like, you know, if in the middle of the day sourcing things on the other side of Miami, let's go check out that area for a little bit. Like let's steer off our schedule for a little bit and let's just make sure that we're having fun.
Yeah, no, I love that, because I think that when you're so focused on a goal, you can get very robotic. Like I think that's so natural for like so many people. Like I've definitely felt that so much in my life when you just have so much going on, you know. So taking that time away and like grounding yourself, you know, and giving you that you time in a way, even if it is just looking at beautiful buildings, you know, like kind of filling your cup again, like super important. So I'm happy that you guys are doing that, and hopefully it will be a successful year in that regard.
It has been, by the way. We've been even walking to subs, etc.
Oh, that's awesome.
We never used to walk anywhere, but like now it's like, if I want to go have lunch in the middle of the day with my family or with my friends, I can go have lunch. Why am I punishing myself and like stressing myself out for no reason?
You shouldn't be like a slave to the business.
Like telling myself, I can't do that, I'm so stressed. Like, why am I even that stressed?
Yeah.
You know?
And it's also thinking like the tasks that you can prioritize, that need to be prioritized now, versus like then you can kind of like put back for you to do later in the day versus like in that hour, you know. I think that's it's like the balance of that, you know.
I just think it's very hard for people to do when you're a business owner, because you care way too much. You put way too much pressure on yourself. Like I put so much pressure on myself every single day. Like I drive so far in traffic, and like if I'm like 10 minutes behind schedule than I normally am, which happens often, I'm like stressing myself out in my head, and I'm like, it's like a part of me is a little conflicted, because I'm like, you know what, that's how I am, I just want to be that way. But then at the same time, it's like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like it's not that serious. You know what I mean? We think the same things with clients. Like when something goes wrong, we'll find a solution. It's gonna be okay. Like yes, sometimes mistakes cost money, but that's why you have us, to make sure that doesn't happen. And when it does happen, we find a solution before it gets to you. So you don't have to stress out. But most of the time they like to
be involved.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love that. Honestly, I think life is a balancing act, and even like the stress and how to manage stress sometimes also feels in of itself like a balancing act. So I was telling you earlier that I'm like a big therapy girl, and I think everyone here is going to know this as you guys watch the podcast, because I think honestly, especially starting the podcast, therapy feels like an investment, because it's the space that like I love mindset, I love mental health, I love all of it, because like I've personally struggled with it. We talked about it. But kind of going back to that is sometimes giving things too much importance of stress when like it's only 10 minutes behind. Like the scale of the stress that you're giving it is much more than it needs to be, you know? So it's kind of like understanding like, all right, I should be giving this level 10 stress versus this one should be level 1, And I feel like understanding life in like that perspective personally has like really helped me, because sometimes I think about a situation and I'm like, I didn't need to be that stressed about it. You could have navigated it, so I think that's really helpful. But
and I love that you do therapy. I think everyone should go to therapy. It is the best investment. So I think like therapy is one of the best things that you can do for yourself, even if you just have nothing going on in your life. Just like talk about things, uncover things.
But I feel like, okay, so not to go into like a whole tangent, but I grew up in a very chaotic household, right? And I won't dive into that, but I feel like when you grow up in an environment that is very crazy, the peace feels uncomfortable, right? So like you want to create chaotic spaces. So, like therapy is really helpful, because even when you're in those like sense of like peace, right? Like you still have anxiety because you're like, why is everything so normal? You know what I mean? Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
It's so annoying in a way, because it's like, why? I want to be at peace. I want to be calm. But your body's like, no, you need to get up and work. You need to be stressed, you know?
Oh my God, no, 100%. When everything happened with like the girls and I being all over Miami, we would just sit in silence and just stare at each other like, is this, what now? Like, what do we do now?
Like, peaked. What's happening?
And I was just like, why are we not jumping off the moon? Like, why are we not so excited? And it's because like we're not used to accepting what we deserve.
Ooh, girl, that was a good one.
Like,
that's so true.
I was like, this whole thing is based around how hard we have worked to be where we are. And now we are just in a state of shock. We're silent. Because we don't know how to accept what we have worked so damn hard for.
And I think that's a lot of things that like women specifically deal with, right? Because I feel like society tells you to like, don't like shout off the moon tops, everything that you're doing.
Get off
like
your high horse.
We get it. You're accomplished. You're pretty. You're all these things. And it's like, no, I should be proud of my moves and I should be doing all of that. But I feel like since we grew up in a society that was, no, girl, like, just celebrate in your corner. I hate that, because it's like we deserve that space. Like we deserve those moments and for people to celebrate us. But it gets so internalized.
Because we're programmed to think that way already. So even when we're so happy about something that we have achieved or accomplished, we can't even celebrate ourselves.
No, you gotta be careful who you tell it to. You can't tell everybody kind of thing, because there's haters, and there is, but it's such a shame.
Yeah.
Which is why we have Breaking Glass, because we're going to talk about all those moments.
Exactly.
I love it.
Everyone's story should be plastered all over.
Yeah, people are breaking glass ceilings every single day. So you especially have been glowing a lot recently. I mean, beyond just your business, right? So we all have to fight to get to that place mentally, spiritually, emotionally, to feel aligned with ourselves and feel centered, whether that means prioritizing yourself or leaving a relationship. What changes do you feel like you had to make so that you can get to the next level?
My favorite topic.
Let's get into it.
My favorite topic. Number 1, I had to stop feeling bad for myself. I always felt bad for myself because I had to like put myself through college, and I got kicked out of our high school because my parents weren't paying for it. And I was like, I need to stop, because if not, I am going to be this person that I feel bad for. There's no need for me to feel bad for her, because I knew who I was. I was
scared to feel it, embrace it.
Yeah, I was just, I didn't think that everything that I have now was possible. At all. So in order for me to be where I am today, I had to believe that it was. So that was really the biggest game changer for me. Now, in order for me to get to that point, I needed to change a lot of things in my daily life, which I was telling you, and like I'm sure you've seen, my routine had to change. I couldn't just, I'm a firm believer in like, if you want to be mediocre, live a mediocre life. If you want to be extraordinary, make an effort to have an extraordinary life.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time to do these things. I was going to school, I was getting my master's that I couldn't even afford.
Yeah.
Just to get it, because at the end of the day, you know, I didn't even need it. I don't, where is it?
Where is it? It's hanging up on that wall.
I know, I'm going to hang it up soon, but
It's for sure at your mom's house. We're like hung up.
It's at my mom's house. I've been meaning to hang it up here, the girls and I, but it was something that I was going to do anyways. But what really changed my life was waking up early, focusing on my physical health, feeling good from the moment I woke up every single day, releasing endorphins every single day, and then coming back to myself. So I would either go roller skating, I would walk my dog every single day, or I would stay and like do some stretching or read a book, something. I mean, it doesn't, those things don't have to be the things you do. Those are just like typical things that people do with this kind of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the reason why those are typical things that people do in a 5 a.m. schedule is because there's something called the 20-20-20 rule, I think.
Okay. What is that?
So it's from the 5 a.m. club. I might be saying this completely wrong.
Okay.
I read this book before I started this. Basically, you spend the first 20 minutes of your day doing exercise, the second 20 minutes of your day doing something for your mind, and then the next 20 minutes doing something for you. So
I love that.
I might be saying it completely wrong, but something along
Something
the
in
lines.
that nature, yeah.
I did like a 60-60-60.
You did some self-love at that time.
More
yeah.
time. So that's basically what I did for a year, and it completely changed the way that I am with myself, the way that I am with my people, the way that I am with my relationships, the way I saw life. I would get to work super energized, and that's really when I started seeing a change and a difference, and that's really when things started going next level to me. So then I became so obsessed with it. I wanted everybody to do it. And I was like, you have to read this book. You have to start making changes. Like, you need to do it. And everyone's like, well, not everybody's as crazy as you, Daniela. I'm not crazy. The thing is that
everyone's going to call you crazy until you hit your success. And you're like, what did she do? And it's like, it's in your daily life.
I'm like, this has changed my life. And I just want it to change everybody else's life like it's changed my life. And I would be lying to you if I say that I still do this every single day. It's really hard.
Yeah.
To wake up at 4:45, which is the time that I set my alarm every single day, I had to go to bed at like 9:30. It's really hard to go to bed at 9:30, especially when you just had a full day of stress.
Yeah. How do you wind down?
Let me tell you something. There's nothing better than going to work and having already accomplished so many things in your day for you.
Yeah.
That you dedicate to yourself. I felt unstoppable because at the end of the day, I could do whatever I wanted. If I wanted to potato, I can potato, and I wouldn't feel like shit about myself the next day. Because the first thing that I prioritized in every single day was myself.
Yourself, yeah.
And most people leave themselves to the very last moment of their day. And even then, they spend their whole night watching Netflix or watching
TikToks
or watching TikToks
the
or whatever.
Zombie scroll.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We're all victims
For
to
sure.
that. And even when I was doing that, I would sometimes I would get home and I would just watch TikToks because I could.
Because you could. Yeah, you spent that time like in the morning prioritizing yourself.
That to me was really like the pivot when people started seeing me glow. I felt better. You think better. What it does to your mind is so beautiful.
Yeah, I can tell. It's transformative.
You want to know why it's so beautiful? Because nothing will make you glow more than confidence.
Oh, yes. I agree.
You want to know what gives you confidence?
Focusing on yourself.
Saying you're going to do something, but not saying it to the world. Promising yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you can't keep a promise to yourself, you can't keep a promise to anyone.
Yeah.
So if you build the confidence to keep a promise to yourself and you stick with it and you go through with it, then you will feel confident in everything else.
You will be unstoppable at that point.
Yeah.
Because you're going to bulldoze through any like barrier wall that you have. And I love that you said that because I think that especially like when people first start doing something, the imposter syndrome kicks in, right? It's very real. It's very real. We all experience it, right? But it's not the motivation, it's the consistency, right? And it's like keeping those promises with yourself and making sure that you're reliable, because at the end of the day, all you have is yourself. You are the only one controlling the trajectory of your life. And I'm a big believer on like how quickly you can pick yourself up is how quickly you can find success. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. It's just like I feel like I've spent so many years saying, I want to do this, I want to do that, da, 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 da. And then like I don't do it, and I didn't get myself up until like I'm like, okay, like I'm never gonna be successful until I decide to actually pursue what it is that I want to do, whatever that means, you know. Doesn't always have to mean a business, in life, fitness, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so I love that you said that.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for doing this. It's amazing. I think it's so important to like listen to other people's stories, because that was also a big part of what I would do on my walks or when I would skate. I would listen to podcasts of other people's stories, and that's also a really big part of what helped me grow, like audiobooks, listening to other people's stories. So I think that, you know, besides therapy and besides doing all of that, I know it sounds like a lot, but it really is like a huge commitment, and it's something very important that you said, investment. Not just, there's something about investing in your time.
Yes.
Your money. Money's an important aspect, because I think you do have to invest your money into therapy, into your fitness, into all of those things, because if it didn't cost you, you're never going to take it seriously.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of things that we have in our lives today have costed us, and that's how we have determined the value of them. So for me, like investing in therapy, no matter, like, you know, therapy could be something that was like super difficult to find, especially when it's covered through insurance and whatnot, finding the right therapist. So it's like when you like miss an appointment or something and you have to pay for it, it's going to cost you. But guess what? There is an exchange of energy there. You made a commitment that you didn't follow through, so now it has to cost you. And that, like, if you look at it more in a more like general way of thinking, that's how the exchange of energy works. So it's something that I like to apply in my life, and like things that actually matter, because people expect like, oh, okay, I want to go to the gym, but they want fast results, or I want to go to the gym, but I don't want a trainer. I mean, you don't really need those things, but you need to invest your time, your energy, and, you know, a little bit of currency.
And currency, yeah. No, it's true. I agree. And I think that you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? Like, you say you want that dream body, then, I mean, buy the right foods, like invest in your mental health, because I think it's just like a 360 thing. Like whenever you want to elevate yourself, and I especially wanted to interview entrepreneurs because I think that being an entrepreneur, you need to have that 360 approach, because or else how else are you going to be successful in your business? Because your business is who you are in a way. You know, I think they're just so intertwined. Obviously, you have an identity here and you have another identity there. If you don't take yourself serious, your business is never going to be taken seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, that imposter syndrome is real.
So real. You know what's crazy? So I posted like recently an Instagram reel, and I got so many comments. It was actually crazy. I didn't expect that many comments. No, like I felt so much love, and like it was really outside of my comfort zone, because I hadn't posted anything that I was pursuing outside of my corporate world in so long. And I don't know if you knew, but I had like a boutique / swimwear line for a few years, and I love that energy that I had in that entrepreneurial journey. And I think like part of my journey was just going to corporate America, because I feel like I really need a structure in my life for a certain time of my life. Like I needed that. I did. And it's crazy. I got like a crazy amount of reaction, at least for me, right? Like it was just more than what I was expecting. And 2 weeks before, I was calling my friend, like crying, saying like, should I even do this? Should I even do this? And she called me right after she saw all the comments coming in. She goes to me, it's so crazy to see you like on this like up and down swing. And I think that's what imposter syndrome really is. You think that it's not valuable, it's not worth it. You tell yourself all these lies, right? That aren't really real. It's just in your head. But really, there's a reason why you had this idea. There's a reason why God put this on your heart. Not to get into religion, but there's a reason why God put this on your heart, and he wants you to pursue it, because it is important. It is important, at least for me, like in my journey. What I love about hearing other entrepreneurs' stories is that people feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like they can take a learning lesson from it. And also, especially talking to women, I feel like there's a lot of fears that we navigate whenever we start pursuing our passions, our endeavors. And I think we need to talk about it more. I think we need to talk about it more, because all of us are like so stuck with, I did this, that, and the third, like, look how amazing I am. And while, yes, I want to celebrate that, absolutely, but there's a realness that comes behind it too. And I don't think that people were talking about it. And I'm like, I want to talk about it, because I go through it so much. You know, I'm like, oh, I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not crazy. I mean, maybe a little crazy, but
no. And let me tell you, even after you started, there's people that are going to be like, you know, going back to the question you asked before, like when I'm going to let my story speak for itself.
And girl, it did.
So to what you just said about like thinking like, oh, should I do this or whatever? Like just like the way everything that I did was really out of my comfort zone. And I knew that the people in my life were going to be like, what? Daniela? You're videotaping yourself? Like everyone knew I was creative and everybody knew that I was like determined. I've always been very determined. So that was going to lead me somewhere, but it was just hard for people to accept the route that I was taking because it's not your typical route. Putting yourself out there, there's always going to be people that are doing that to you. Yeah. But really determines us the growth and the success in what you're doing is when you truly believe in it. And I think that was like the biggest thing and the biggest takeaway that I've had from our growth in our business is that everything that we've accomplished up until this day has been because we really believe in this business. And like every time we have really believed in it, I'm telling you, there's been moments where I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to start working a night shift because
you're scared.
It's not easy.
Scary,
it's like you don't just make money overnight.
No,
like,
at all.
So I was like, I don't have people to fall back on financially. I got to survive. So I'm going to have to get like a nighttime job or something. And every single time, like we all had jobs, by the way, until like last year. Like we all had side jobs.
Well,
on top of everything.
That's amazing. Congrats on being able to like pivot out of that. So
yeah, but every time I like was like about to like just not give up because I would never give up, but just like I'm gonna look elsewhere, something came about and something fell on our lap. I say that if it just fell on our lap, but something, when you really believe in something, it'll start to unfold for you. And it feels like it's falling on your lap, but it's like it's just the outcome of putting in a lot of work and having a lot of faith that it's gonna and not giving up.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's being clear on your why and like really having a passion for what you do really does take you so many different places. So being an entrepreneur, to be successful, you always need to be working on not just your brand, but yourself. To be honest, I think we've kind of already been alluding to all of that. So you learn naturally a lot about yourself along the journey, but how do you feel like your journey, your entrepreneurial journey specifically, has shaped you so far as a person?
Let me think about this one.
I know, I have big questions.
I think that my journey has shaped me in ways that not many people get to experience in their entire lifetime. So it's huge because I think the biggest thing, and we've already spoken about this, is learning how to believe in yourself and seeing yourself for who you really are. Like the determination that I've had. A couple years ago, I would have never told you. Maybe my mom would have told you I was a determined person. But I never thought I was a determined person. So it really it made this, turned a mirror into like a window for me.
Who you are, and who you want to be.
Like I could see myself and I can see right through my future at the same time. So most of all, I think it's just made me really believe in who I am and value the woman that I've become and believe that I'm capable. That's like one of the biggest things, because I don't think, one thing is saying that you're capable of doing anything, but in order to truly be capable of doing something, you have to believe it. This office, everything, that every day I come in here and it feels, I just dreamt about this and like I'm just here. You know, when you think about like the world, I don't know if when you were little, I used to think that the world was like controlled by a girl who was playing with Barbies.
Oh, okay. I love that.
Okay, so I thought that when I walked into this office for the first time, finished, who's our Barbie doll owner? Because she's doing everything right. Like, she literally made my dream come true.
That's beautiful.
This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. So being an entrepreneur has really taught me to trust myself, trust my business partners. Just wait until you see how far we're going to go. Girls and I, we never had a doubt. We never had a single doubt.
Oh my God. And when you're clear on that, when you know where you're going and that you are capable of that, you really can achieve so much. You are unstoppable at that point.
It's so hard to put your trust in someone like that. But sometimes you got to be like, are you in this 100%?
Yeah.
We're going to sacrifice everything right now. This is what it's going to be. We're going to do everything. And then something that has helped us, for anyone that would like to start a business or is thinking about it, GWDI, she has her own identity. Her name is Gigi.
Gigi. So cute.
Her name is Gigi. So everything we do it for her. It's like our baby that we have together. And like when you think about it that way, and you're not like, oh, this is a part of my business too, and this and that. Like, no, this is all for Gigi. We continue to flower her, and she will continue to blossom.
I love that. Yeah. I love that mindset because it can kind of separate you a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Because like you need that separation.
It's like people get so caught up on like, this is
Yeah. Like, it's a little possessive.
It's all
like
the ego.
It's the ego. It's the ego. Ooh, ego deaths. Those are intense.
Yeah. That's one thing that I think is really the reason why we've been able to succeed so much, is because with the ego, we really have, from the beginning, we've always valued our business as it is. So like, we're able to grow a lot within the environment.
And that shows a lot about all of you guys, because I feel like we live in a world, or we grew up, I don't think we're in that world anymore, but I think we grew up with the mindset of like girls against girls, right? And I mean, I don't think that's the reality we live in today. I think we've evolved a lot as a culture. There's still work to do for sure, but I think like going into business with anyone, but specifically like an all-woman team, could get catty. And like, it's beautiful when you can curate a beautiful space between you guys, because it doesn't need to be, you guys all have the same goal, you know? So it's like, why? Like, why?
Yeah.
We're all in it together for a reason. There's no...
It's true. And a lot of people always ask us that. That's like a very common question. Like, do you guys fight? Like, do you guys like...
Ooh, someone wants to know the tea.
Yeah. Like, everyone's always trying to stir the pot. And
yeah,
like,
I see that.
Like, why are you trying to stir the pot? Like,
yeah,
I would I wouldn't love to give you the tea, but there is none. I mean, so we're human.
Yeah,
you know?
I think there's going to be natural things that happen, but...
I mean, we don't even fight. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. It's just like...
You guys just get each other.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, our friendship is our friendship. And a lot of people say, like, you should separate your business from your friendship a lot. But, like, we only do that in business mode, like, on site. Our business is our business because of our friendship. So...
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And if you have like a solid friendship, I'd imagine that it could easily translate into a business. So I think that's beautiful. I'll say. So one final thought question, really, and this is for the advice for people who are tuning in, whether they want to be an interior designer or they're just an entrepreneur. What have you learned in your journey that you wish you would have known sooner, / what advice would you give to your younger self? And it doesn't have to always be business. It could be anything, really.
I would tell my younger self, don't be scared. Don't try to prove yourself to everyone. Let your story speak for itself. Be who you say you are. Work hard. It'll happen. It'll unfold. I think I tried to prove myself a lot to like people I cared about. I think everybody else saw me for who I am, but for some reason, you know, sometimes we try to prove ourselves extra to like our parents and stuff. Like,
yeah. What have you learned in your journey that you wish you would have known sooner?
How to say no.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Sorry, I knew it was coming. I'm like, there's so many things I wish I would have learned.
Yeah, because I can imagine, especially being new in the space, there's a lot of people who want...
Don't get me wrong. I don't think that you should say no to things in the beginning or ever. You know, you should always be open to new opportunities. But once you do kind of have your feet on the ground, you need to learn how to say no, because if not, people will walk all over you for the rest of the game. For the entire ride, for the whole show. They will walk all over you. And being a student that started her own design business, a lot of the people that put their trust in me, all the people that put their trust in me knew I was a student. I'm not saying that a lot of people took advantage of me. I'm just saying, like, in general, the
mindset. Yeah, okay.
You know, people were giving me an opportunity. So there was nothing that I really like wasn't willing to do, which you think it's great, because guess what? It gave us the opportunity that we did get. But once you start to have your feet on the ground, learn how to say no to the clients that are going to drain you, because you need to make room for the clients that are going to make you grow. So I think that was one of the biggest things that we determined in our New Year meeting this year. We were like, if we want to really grow, we need to be able to have the space to accept the projects and the clients that are going to help us grow, and not the ones that are going to completely drain us over or like of every ounce of our being stressed.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because we're in this because if you're starting your own business, you're starting it hopefully not for the money. You're doing it because that's what you love to do.
Yeah.
So once you lose that, everything else goes downhill. If you just take every opportunity just to take it, just to get by, eventually you're going to lose your passion for what you do. So it's just really prioritizing and respecting why you started.
Yeah, and knowing your worth. Yeah, it seems, you know?
Worth, yeah.
Knowing your worth. And then, you don't have to answer, but what advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice would I give to my younger self?
The one that you thought you were playing with Barbies, or the world controlled the Barbies. Which I love that analogy, by the way.
I swear That's how I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it wasn't like realistic, but that was like my little like toddler imaginary
So
brain.
what'd you think of like the Barbie movie? Because it was kind of almost that.
I loved it.
Yeah, because it was literally what you thought.
That's why I feel like I'm living in a simulation.
Oh my God,
like,
literally.
everything that I've ever dreamed of is happening around me. That sounds so cheesy. When
No, but that's amazing. That's so cute.
It's so cute. No, I mean, I wasn't even like, I mean, I loved Barbies, but I wasn't like Barbie obsessed or anything. But I just like, to me, it made sense. The way I played with my Barbies, I told them what to do. That's what was happening with me. And then the Barbie movie, it's like she goes back to find her owner to fix her and whatever. And I'm like,
you must have been like jaw dropped when you watched the movie,
like,
honestly.
Where's my Barbie at?
Where's Barbie? Where is she?
Let me give her a hug.
I love it.
No, and I actually didn't even see it until like 2 weeks ago, believe it or not.
Wow.
I know.
Such a great movie.
I know.
Honestly, like,
I know. Such a great movie. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. There were so many songs in there too that I was like loving, and I didn't even know it was in there. I was like,
oh my God. And
no
then
wonder.
now, after you know the meaning and like where it was applied, it's just like, it's even more impactful. Like the Billie
So-
Eilish song.
No.
As soon as you mentioned like your Barbie thing, that song popped into my head. You know that? I was like, where did it?
I'd be crying in my car to this song and not even be sad. And I'm like, I love the song. I don't know why. I love sappy shit. So
Oh my
it's
God.
like,
No, same girl. I don't know.
when I saw it was in the movie, I was like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Did you cry? Did you cry in the movie?
No, I don't think I cried.
Oh, okay. I teared up in like the speech area. Like oh my God, America. No, what's her name? You know what scene I'm talking about though, right? Where she's like,
Stereotypical Barbie?
yeah, where she's like, I'm not like stereotypical Barbie. And then she goes off on a tangent, a whole speech of like, you know, like the Barbie owner.
Oh.
Where she was like, you know, like, you're Barbie. How do you not feel that way? Like, that's crazy. Like,
Yes.
that speech. So,
Oh my gosh. Yes. When she
crazy.
talks about like how women should be.
yeah.
Yes.
You know, the crazy part is it's like we know that we live that life, but like that speech like really put it into reality.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? I don't know if I was the only one that felt that way.
No, when I saw that speech before I even saw the movie, you know, I was like, damn, it's true. Like,
yeah.
there's the way that we're socialized is completely different from like the way that we are really supposed to be, like the way that we're meant to operate. So
yeah,
I love the message that they gave when they were like, just like, be who you want to be, like accept yourself for who you are and just
let the world adapt.
Exactly.
Don't adapt to the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is what everybody thought Barbie of. So I love that they just like came back.
They like spin it on its head.
Mm-hmm.
How didn't win an award is beyond me, but you know, we're not here for that drama.
Yeah. I was scared a lot as a kid to be bold because I was scared of like being ridiculed and being like not taken seriously by my parents. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. My mom wanted me to be a lawyer. Go figure. Can anybody else relate?
Oh my God. My last episode was with Tammy, and we talked about how our parents wanted us to become a doctor and a lawyer. Both of us. So very relatable.
No, and you know what's even crazier? I remember in career day in our high school, I think an anesthesiologist came to our school and he was like saying how much money he made. I was like, how much money did you make? And then he was like, I don't even remember how much it was. And I was like, oh, well, done deal. That's what I want to do.
Check.
I was like, I'm going to be an anesthesiologist. What?
I really think it really is like a rite of passage to like, as an immigrant family, that you need to think you're going to be a doctor one day. And then you're like, no.
Absolutely not. First of all, I'd throw up every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, I mean, there's just so many ways to make money. Like, I really think that if you chase your passion, money will follow.
Yeah.
I
mean, my brother's a doctor, and
I mean, if you have a passion for it, great. But like, you need to have a passion for whatever it is you do in life. Because if you're gonna be a doctor, you're not passionate about it, you're gonna hate your patients.
My brother's so passionate. Like, he talks about it. I'm like, wow, I am so happy that at least our parents were able to see their dream come true through you, because
at least they can like, get that
I respect him so much. Like that's a whole other profession that just, you know, it's not made for everyone. But still takes a lot of guts to go down that path.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think something that would resonate with anyone is like, don't be scared. It's never too late to start, never too early to start, because everybody would have said otherwise when I started my business. Like, what do you think you're doing? I mean, you hear it's never too late to start all the time because people always feel behind, but it's also never too early to start. Like, you don't have to wait until your next chapter to be done for you to start investing into what you actually want to come about your life. Like, life is not so sequential like that.
Yeah.
You can
I
do
agree.
things whenever you feel like doing them.
It's true.
That's how Gigi was born.
Oh, we love Gigi.
We love Gigi.
I'm so excited for Gigi to decorate my home, or really build my home.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it from the ground up.
Yeah, new builds.
New builds, which you guys are getting more into, which is super exciting. But thank you again for today. Honestly, it's been magical talking to you. Honestly, I think we had great conversations, and I think that this can bring a lot of value to a lot of people. So seriously, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited to keep listening and watch you grow with this, because I really believe that it's going to be impactful to a lot of not just women, but just everyone that needs to hear other people's stories so that they can inspire themselves and motivate themselves to move forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.